Quick disclaimer. Information in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended to be treated as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare team before making changes to your diet, lifestyle, supplementation, or medication.
Have you tried every diet under the sun and been on the dieting merry-go-round for years, perhaps even decades? You're not alone. So let's look closer at why diets don't work and what actually does.
Welcome to Type 2 Diabetes Talk, the place where we chat about what really works to treat type 2 diabetes and prediabetes naturally with nutrition and lifestyle. If you're looking to optimize blood sugar and A1C, lose weight, reduce medications, and improve your overall health, this is the place to be. Now, here's your host, Type 2 Diabetes Nutrition Specialist, Dr. Jetta.
Hello, wonderful people. Dr. Jetta here, and thanks for joining me for episode 58. I've spoken to numerous DMP members recently about their health journeys, and while I was doing so, a common theme kept arising: the fact that diets don't work. For example, Beverly shared with me how she has lowered her HbA1c by 2.9% now and lost 39 pounds, or 17.9 kilos, something she hasn't been able to do, ever. In fact, she shared how she'd tried every diet under the sun and had been on the merry-go-round for 60 years, since her 20s. She's 80 now and in the best health she's ever been. Lynn has lowered her A1C by 3.9% and lost 20 pounds, or 9 kilos. She said, and I quote, "I am extremely happy with these results as I've tried and failed so many times to achieve these types of results." As we've heard from Wilma in previous episodes, 7 and 36, weight was always an issue for her, but she could never seem to lose it. Now she's lost a whopping 79 pounds, or 36 kilos, and she's done it effortlessly without even thinking about it at all. In episode 40, Helen shared how she'd tried every diet and felt like it was the dieting mentality that actually got her to the 340 pounds, or 154 kilo weight that she found herself at. She has now thankfully lost weight and is going strong. When we asked Joyce recently how she was doing, she said, and I quote, "Truthfully, I haven't even started anything yet. Things are somewhat up in the air right now. I guess that when I've done nothing but diet my whole life, even when I wasn't heavy or a diabetic person, it just gets tiring. Today is not the day I can feel like starting something new." These are just a few examples behind the inspiration of today's episode, a topic that I feel resonates with so many people. The frustration and struggle with this whole dieting thing. And yes, I say dieting with air quotes to emphasize it. For years, often decades, many in our community have tirelessly followed various diets, hoping for significant weight loss or improvements in their diabetes management, only to find themselves back at square one. Like Joyce shared, this can be really disheartening, demotivating, and can make you feel like lasting change is just out of reach. By the end of this episode, you'll understand that the success is certainly not out of reach. I've already demonstrated this by the stories I just shared about Lynn, Beverly, Helen, and Wilma, all losing significant amounts of weight and improving their health dramatically. Today, not only will we dive into some of the reasons why diets often fail, but to share that there is a pathway to sustainable weight loss and improved diabetes management, and it doesn't have to involve another fad diet, not at all. It's how Lynn, Beverly, Helen, Wilma, and many others in the DMP community have achieved their great weight loss and health results and are now living life in a completely new and energized way. And being we are at the end of one year, just about to enter another, this topic of today seems like just the right topic to inspire you to take a new approach for the new year to inspire you to get off the merry-go-round and use an approach that not only works to get results, but is that pathway that you need for sustainable long-term weight loss. So where on earth did this whole dieting thing begin? The concept of dieting has its roots that stretch back centuries, believe it or not, but it began to take shape in a more modern sense in the 19th and early 20th centuries. And one of the earliest recorded diets was prescribed by William Banting, an English undertaker in the 1860s. And the Banting diet recommended avoiding sugar, starch, beer and dairy. So essentially, it promoted what we probably now recognise as a low-carbohydrate diet, which is actually quite interesting, right? The early 20th century saw the rise of calorie counting for weight loss, and this era marked the beginning of the obsession with caloric intake and portion control. The mid-20th century brought further developments such as the low-fat craze that began in the 1950s, spurred by various studies linking dietary fat to heart disease, none of which were actually valid, but in any case, that's where the low-fat craze came along. And this period also saw the popularity of various different fad diets, the grapefruit diet, the cabbage soup diet, among many other fad diets that have been and gone. Without a doubt, over the years, we've seen a plethora of popular diets emerge, and they still keep popping up every day, each promising revolutionary results beyond all others. We see low-fat diets, low-calorie diets, Atkins, South Beach, paleo, keto, carnivore, 5-2 fast diets, blood type diets, shake diets, detox diets, and the list goes on. We latch onto these shiny objects hoping this will be the diet solution I'm looking for. This will finally be the diet that will lower my blood sugar and move this stubborn weight. But for many, that's not the case. When it comes to dieting, there are countless myths that have persisted over the years. Two in particular are calorie restriction and eating low-fat diets. One of the most pervasive myths is that losing weight is simply a matter of eating fewer calories than you burn. This is the energy balance model we spoke about in episode 12. This myth of eating less calories than you burn is still pervasive to this day. While calorie restriction can lead to short-term weight loss, it often fails in the long term. People end up putting the weight back on. We've seen it time and time again. You see, the body is incredibly smart and adaptive, and when you drastically cut calories, your metabolism can slow down to conserve energy, and this metabolic adaptation means that over time you have to eat even less to continue losing weight, which is neither sustainable nor healthy. Another popular myth is that all fats are bad and should be minimised to lose weight and improve health. And the low-fat craze of the 1980s and 1990s led many to avoid healthy fats altogether, replacing them with high-carb, low-nutrient foods. And this shift has been really completely counterproductive to good health, and really it has been a premise that has led to increasing rates of obesity and diabetes. Healthy fats are essential for our appetite satisfaction, our satiety, hormone production, and overall health in general. Yet, the idea that low-fat diets are universally beneficial does still persist despite the mounting evidence to the contrary. We've all seen the advertisements promising rapid weight loss with little effort, from miracle supplements to extreme detox diets. These quick fixes often produce temporary results due to severe calorie restriction or water loss. But let's face it, none of them are sustainable. And one other problematic thing is that once these types of diets end, the weight typically returns, often with a few extra pounds. We often see these myths persisting due to persuasive marketing, and of course, in our modern fast-paced world, quick fix solutions can seem incredibly appealing, right? We only have to think of the new weight loss drugs taking the world by storm. Of course, A quick fix may seem like an ideal solution, but even with drugs, there are potentially significant side effects, and again, there is weight regain if medications are stopped. Coming back to these diet myths, there are scientific reasons why diets often fail to produce lasting results. As mentioned earlier, when you significantly reduce your calorie intake, your body can respond by slowing down your metabolism. And this process, known as metabolic adaptation, is the body's way of conserving energy in response to perceived starvation. And over time, this can make weight loss increasingly difficult and weight regain more likely once normal eating patterns resume. Many diets often involve restrictive eating, which can lead to persistent hunger and cravings. And when you're constantly hungry, it's challenging to maintain willpower and stick to the diet. This is especially true if the diet is low in protein and healthy fats, both of which help to keep you feeling full and satisfied. Restrictive diets may lead to nutrient deficiencies, which can negatively impact overall health and well-being. For example, very low-fat diets can deprive the body of essential fatty acids and fat-soluble vitamins, while very low-calorie diets can lack sufficient vitamins, minerals, and macronutrients needed for optimal health. Perhaps the most significant issue, though, with most diets is their lack of sustainability. Extreme restrictions are hard to maintain in the long run, leading to a cycle of yo-yo dieting. And this cycle not only undermines physical health, but can also affect mental health, leading to feelings of failure and a negative relationship with food. And these are really important things to consider.
It's time to leave all the noise and confusion behind and get proven, practical solutions that really work. Understand your diabetes and exactly what to eat to keep your blood sugar stable, lose weight, and reduce medications. All this and more is possible with Dr. Jetta's scientifically proven T2 diet program. Take charge of your diabetes health and join the program today. Visit type2diabetestalk.com/programs.
This issue with sustainability also applies to some popularised diets or diet practices such as keto diets, 5-2 diets, and even various types of fasting that we may hear about now. In studies, we certainly see these diets and dietary practices being effective. That's true. And if they work for you, that's great. On various levels, for some people they do, but one of the difficulties, again, is sustainability. And research frequently shows adherence to restrictive diets is poor and long-term sustainability is again an issue. And in my experience and from speaking and working with many of our members over the past decade, it is frequently the case as well. I understand why this is, and I'm sure you can relate too. We live in the real world, and for most people, engaging in normal life is still very important. Taking on extremes is usually not suited to most people. Sure, it may work for some, as I said, but for most it doesn't. As Helen shared in episode 40, her experience was that eating 800 calories a day, or 300 calories a day even, which she had tried, was certainly not sustainable. Helen emphasised that the constant promotion of unsustainable lifestyles is ludicrous and has not helped her overcome her years of struggles with weight gain and difficulties losing weight, obviously, too. I certainly agree, and the approach we take is one of sustainability because not only do we want you to get great results, but also to sustain them. We don't want you to simply do another diet, but to take on a new way of eating and a lifestyle that feels natural and sustainable to you because that's how you'll best manage your diabetes and health long term. Another thing is that in many cases, dieting can lead to a sense of psychological deprivation, which often manifests as emotional and binge eating. That's not what you want at all. And this again highlights the importance of finding a sustainable approach to eating that allows for flexibility, helping to promote all of your goals, which may be physical, but also mental and emotional well-being as well. If you've been listening to the podcast a while or you're one of our members, you'll know that we do encourage a lower carbohydrate eating plan, or rather lower carbohydrate nutrition. Carbohydrates are important because they have the greatest influence on blood sugar levels, but also because they influence key hormones in the body that make it harder to lose weight and increase insulin resistance, making it more difficult to regulate blood sugar. We've covered topics like this in episode 12, where we focused on smarter weight loss with the carbohydrate insulin model and on insulin resistance in episode 26. Carbohydrates are an important focus on diabetes treatment, but carbs are not the enemy, so to speak, as there are lots of healthy and beneficial carbohydrate foods. I prefer the word nutrition because the word diet, well, it's a bit of a dirty word, right? Your diet is simply the way you eat on a daily basis, and that's where nutrition is key. Instead of dieting, when you focus on nutrition, focus on taking care of yourself, understanding different aspects of your health, and learning how to nurture your body with quality, nutritious foods, things change from the inside out. In a literal sense, because your body's cells are now becoming nourished with the vitamins, minerals, and fuel they really need, but also from an internal sense of mental and emotional well-being. Focusing on nutrition builds a sense of confidence that you know what to eat to treat diabetes, a sense of empowerment because you've finally seen the results you want, and since you're doing that, you've developed a sustainable approach that you can follow for a lifetime, and you've found a clear pathway that can lead to sustainable results, and that's such an amazing feeling. For instance, let's come back to the people we talked about at the beginning. Lynn, Wilma, Helen, and Beverly. They've all found our nutrition approach sustainable. Lynn said, and I quote, "The program has taught me so much, and the food and your approach to it has made all the difference. My eating habits have changed dramatically. This, to me, is not just a diet, and I'm sure it's a permanent change and way of life for me in the future." Wilma keeps getting questioned by her doctor about whether her diet and results are sustainable. She says they certainly are because she's never felt so good. She's wearing swimsuits and clothes she hasn't been able to wear in decades. She's not embarrassed to attend family events and be included in photos. And it's all because she now knows the foods that support optimal health for her body. She's simply focused on nutrition and the benefits have been profound. Beverly shared that she now has a deeper understanding of how foods influence her body and never chooses foods she would have eaten all the time before. It's just become second nature. Helen shared how she sees our approach as a safe food space that provides support. It's an approach that's finally helped her become engaged with her health to successfully lose weight and feel better in life. It's not by chance that our program works. Over the past decade, we've learned what works from our community because we've been focused on answering their questions and developed the practical resources they needed to make the changes they wanted. In addition to the length of experience we've had at DMP, I also led world-first multi-phase research on digital nutrition programs for type 2 diabetes. That's something I'm really proud of. And the T2 diet program was designed with people by getting their feedback and input across 4 different stages of development during the program. So we really had an even deeper insight into what would help people achieve and sustain their health improvements. And some of the things that came up during that development process were having access to relevant web-based resources they could trust and access on demand when they needed to, being communicated to in a respectful, positive way that's easy to understand, practical resources that account for juggling life commitments, which we know we all have, delicious recipes, of course, so as not to fall into a rut routine and get sick of eating the same old stuff. Supporting people to eat no matter what environment they were in, so workplaces, travelling, restaurants, cafes, fast food outlets, families and social occasions, places where healthy eating can become more challenging. So we built in a whole bunch of resources around all of that stuff. And most importantly, flexibility in the guidelines to be realistic enough to be followed. And all of these things are embedded in our programs, and that's what makes them so effective. One person in the study said, and I quote this from the published manuscript, "I'd just like to say I like the very opening where you say, look, just keep an eye on the carbs, but don't get sort of hung up on the details. You can eat until you're full, things like that. Very often you get very strict regimes, where people really almost tell you off, and then they go on to give you a very excessive sort of diet proposal, which I suppose I switch off because I think to myself, well, that's a bit too abnormal." This person is talking about the topic of today, that diets don't work. Very strict regimes, excessive diet proposals, eating habits that are too abnormal. They're just fad diets, and the overwhelming evidence and experience suggests they do not work. In contrast, and I know I'm a bit biased here, but our programs are incredible. And each story I share on this podcast, real life stories of our members, these stories are a testament to the power of our flexible and sustainable nutrition approach. The key is combining quality nutrition with ongoing support, because when you do that, no goal is too difficult to achieve. And that's certainly what helps many of our members, having the ongoing nutrition education and countless resources, relevant and practical resources at their fingertips, and the ongoing support to maintain focus and motivation. In any case, think about that. Diets don't work. So, if you're stuck, struggling, in a yo-yo dieting cycle, want to achieve better results, or sick and tired of dieting, then it's time to stop. Diets don't work. Nutrition is key to better health. Use nutrition as your new focus, and things will start to look different for you in all aspects of your life. Guaranteed. So I guess the key thing I hope that you will take away from today's episode is that there is hope you can get out of that horrible dieting cycle, just like Lynn, Wilma, Beverly, Helen, and many others within the DMP community have. All you have to do is start your nutrition journey today. So let us help you do that. Head down to type2diabetestalk.com/food list and grab a free copy of our recommended food list. That's type2diabetestalk.com/food list. It is New Year's Eve at the time of this podcast going live, so I wish you the happiest festivities and the best possible health in the year ahead. Have a great time. Dr. Jetta, over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to Type 2 Diabetes Talk. Please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. And for episode replays, episode notes, and more, visit type2diabetestalk.com. New episodes are available Tuesdays, 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, or your time zone equivalent. Thanks again. We're truly grateful to be a part of your life and help make a real difference.